Good afternoon, and thank you for attending our webinar today, where we are going to take a look at Windchill PLM. My name is Rob Romanowski. I am the Director of Sales Operations with 3HTI, and leading the presentation and demo of Windchill today is Shane Regard, who is a solutions consultant and applications engineer with PTC's VCOE, the Virtual Center of Excellence. One of the things about Windchill, I'm glad you guys are on today, joining us. It's all about data. It's all about how you manage that data, who has access to that data, keeping that data secure so the right people can get access at the right time when they need it, having that, making sure they don't have to sift through a lot of data that they don't need to find the data that they do need. That's a whole other program with Windchill called Windchill Navigate apps, which we're not going to discuss today. But basically, when it comes to managing, whether it's heavy CAD data or any type of data at all in product development, Windchill is absolutely the gold standard. So without further ado, Shane, why don't you take it away? And if anybody has any questions, just put those into the chat and we'll try to answer them as we go along.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. I appreciate it, Rob.
Appreciate
Okay,
you
so
being here.
I appreciate it. Yeah, today we're going to be talking about Windchill. Again, like Rob was mentioning, it's all about what Windchill is. It's an out-of-the-box PLM software solution. Get your data into the system, have one single source of truth for that data, and then allow the system to do the management for you and collaborate with other users that would need that data. So what you're seeing here, these are base functionalities within the system. So with a PLM system, we keep it at its core. You can see document management, which is really useful and used within a lot of our customers. We can manage documents. Obviously, CAD data is a big portion of it. So you can see here heterogeneous CAD data management. What this means is no matter which CAD data your company uses, Windchill can use it. We can manage the data, bring it into the system, visualize the information. So you can see visualization here as well. So once you do get that CAD data in, visualize it right within the tool. You don't need to have your CAD software installed. Complete BOM management, which is again a part of its core, and I'll touch on it as well within the demonstration. But being able to manage your BOM and then also understand all the relationships to other information to that BOM. So if you ever go to make a change, like you can see change management. So if you ever go to make a change to an object, what other impacts might that have? So if you change a part, are there other documents, analysis, anything that might need to also be updated and reviewed? So those are some of the core functionality. And then here you can see these are more so extensions that you would be adding in. So get your data into the system, collaborate with other users, integrate the workflows, and then you can do things like supplier management, component management. Those are some popular ones. Whenever you're working with a lot of different parts, bringing in that data, search for the part information like diameters and material types, things of that nature, and be able to filter and quickly find it. And then also just to point out, there are a couple ones that are grayed out within this chart. So here you can see ERP on the far left and then ECAD in the top right. The reason those two are grayed out is because Windchill, it's a PLM system. So single source of truth for your product data, we can integrate to those other systems. So if you have ECAD or obviously ERP, we can bring those types of data into the bill of material and into the system to then have multiple different ways to view the same information. Okay, so now jumping into the demonstration, we're going to keep it high level and just get your feet wet with the platform, understand how we manage bill of material and documents and version control and things like that. So here, what we're seeing, this is the home page. Windchill itself is browser-based. So for example, Chrome, you launch Chrome, you can access Windchill, you have all the data quickly accessible. Now within the home page, this is going to be configurable. So each user can choose what information and what information's in their home screen. You can see here on the far right-hand side, there's a bunch of different options that you're going to have. So for example, if tasks are important, click it, bring it in, updates. You can see it's very simple to add in new information. So again, the whole point here, bring in the information that's most important. You can see you can scroll through and view all the information that was brought in, all the metadata from those files. Here, you can see the change requests within tasks. We're not going to touch on that today, but change management is tightly integrated in the system. And then also another configuration, if you want to change the ordering for these tables, it's very simple to drag and drop. You can see now we just move the task to the top, and now all of this information is relevant. So again, the whole point here for this user, show what's most important. You can even go down to the table level. So for example, if some of these options weren't necessarily important for a user, they can come in, deselect, and select on different components, and then that's going to update that table. Okay, so now moving into the top right of the homepage, you can see here quick links. Very important. It doesn't matter if it's a new user or an experienced user. Something as simple as the Help Center right at the top. So you can see you can access the Windchill Help Center directly from the Windchill environment. If you're ever confused on how Windchill manages something, the repository of data is actually really robust. So you have quick access to that if you needed to understand how parts are being managed or how change management workflows actually work. Use the Help Center. And then you also have things like preferences. Those could be like user preferences specific. So you could see, again, pretty robust. These are all just configurations. There's no customization here. So that also helps with doing system upgrades or platform upgrades. If you ever go to update Windchill, because it's just a configuration, it makes it a lot easier than doing a customization, of course. Then you have your recently accessed. This is very straightforward. So what it means is as you're working between different files and parts and bill of materials, anything within Windchill, it's tracking it for you. You can just quickly come back to your homepage and always just easily access anything that you've recently been working on. And then you have your searching. This is really where we start to understand how we can access Windchill data. So you have your search bar at the top. You can see it's keeping history, of course, for you, all the different filter criteria that you're applying. But what's important is how searching works. So let's say, for example, you need to search for a part. You have no clue what it begins with, the name of the part. You don't know what it begins with, but you know it ends in 2000K for this example. So what we can do is perform what's called a wildcard search. So we add in that asterisk, fill in the rest. So we're saying it ends in 2000K. We can execute that search, and then you can see the results are going to populate. It's not always just going to be 2 results. It might be 1,000 results, depending on your search. So a couple different ways to filter down these. Firstly, you have faceted on the left-hand side. You can see you can expand on those. And then obviously the more information that's generated from your search would be shown here. So if you had a part that you were looking for, you can filter for the dimensions. Here within the table, you can even search in the table. You can search for any metadata. So it's very robust for narrowing down the search. You can also pin down this navigator, and that would pop out the other view, so you can work side by side with your searching. And then a really important tool is, let's say you do find you search for your part, you have 10 parts showing, and you need to make sure that you're actually working on the right one or viewing the right one. You can use the thumbnail navigator. So as soon as you hover over that thumbnail, you're going to get a visualization of the product or the part. You can see you can actually do interrogations right within this navigator. You have cross highlighting, so it makes it very fast for if you were searching. Let's say you needed to find a washer, very small part, you have no clue what that part number is. You could search for and you know it's in this product. You can search for the product, use the uses here on the right-hand side, narrow down that search result very quickly. And that also works upstream. So if this is used on multiple products, you can go back upstream to the different products. And that's also where you start to understand traceability. And I'm going to touch on this in a moment whenever I move into the actual bill of material, but relating information in the system is very important. So here you can see we have a part. It can be any CAD part, it doesn't matter. And with that part, we have other information that's going to be related to it. So that's what the related information's for. So this means is if you're ever going to make a change to this part, these are other documents or analyses that may be affected by that change. So it's giving you traceability from not just your CAD bill of material, but then into the other information that you're relating to that. And also changes. So whenever you're making changes to objects, you're also going to see that information here as well. And that's just getting into the thumbnail navigator. So you can see how robust it is even at this level with searching. And then, like I said, you can trace your way all the way back up through your products and see where those objects are being used. Okay, now moving into the search history. Again, this is mostly straightforward. So as you're searching within Windchill, it's keeping a record of all the different filter options that you're adding. And then also another beneficial tool to have is the created by me or save searches. What this means is like for example, you're coming in the Windchill daily, let's say, or weekly, and you're searching for the same file or part every single time. You can create a search, save it, and then come here and then quickly access that same exact search. You can see all the different filter criteria that we've already predefined. Makes it very quick and easy so you don't have to come in every single time to define those filters. And then here you can see the different criteria that you can filter by. And of course, the more information you bring in the Windchill, the more type of options that you're going to see here. Even down to the criteria, you can see all the different types of configurations that you can apply or criteria that you can apply to your searching. So here we're saying, okay, we're going to look for a document. The document, the format, we want it to be a PDF, or we can change it to be the name has to equal a certain amount. So you can get really granular with these types of searches. And you can understand how important that is whenever you're managing not just bill of material, you have documents in here. There might be thousands of different components, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of different pieces of information. So having tools like that are really beneficial to narrow down your results. Okay, so now moving into browsing. This is more or less how your information in Windchill is actually stored and managed. You see here within the products, these are actual products that you'd be managing. And then there's things like libraries. This could be for like general documentation, things like that. There's also project management within Windchill. We're not going to really touch on that today, but there's going to be webinars that we can have for that as well. And then there's also because we're signed in as an administrator, there might be administrative tools that we would have access to. So depending on the user, they may or not see more information here or less, of course. Now, working with a product, you have your end products. Here we can see this is an actual product that you'd be selling. Details page. Details page is always going to be pretty similar throughout Windchill, whether you're down to an individual part, a document, here at the high level of a product. See, it's more or less general information, who created it, last modified, end items, things like that, the template that it was used to create this product. And then throughout the system, you're going to notice that there's actions that can be taken on a lot of different files that you're managing. So here you can see we're at a high level product. You can do things like opening this up in Creo View, saving it as a template, export as a template, adding it as a favorite. So a lot of different actions, and it's going to change depending on what you're viewing. Okay, and then moving on down within our product, we have folders. This is how the actual data for this product is being stored. So it's like a Windows File Explorer, very straightforward. You can see it's a normal folder structure that you're probably used to. You can expand these out. We can see that there's the CAD data in here, bill of material data, different parts being used within here. This is also where you can store just general documentation. It really doesn't matter. And also where you start to understand what's going on with the data within this product. What I mean is you can see all the metadata that's being included within these files. So for example, we have washer. This is a Microsoft Word document that we're storing. You have the version history on the far right of all of these. So we can see they're on version A.1. As you're checking objects out of Windchill and then checking them back in, these are going to increment. And there's also a configuration now that is for auto numbering. So if your company has your own auto numbering that you can apply to this, that would be represented within that version. And then also I showed the thumbnail navigator with a CAD product. Here it's showing it with a document. So you even have that type of visualization right within the platform as well. And then you also have changes. So all these different files that you're managing, they're going to be going through changes. You're going to see different types of symbols in Windchill. Here, this one's showing that this object, this file, has a change against it. The importance to that is that if a random user came into Windchill, they can see this document already has a change out against it. They know if they open this up and started working on it, they may not be working on the most up-to-date version, or they don't need to work on the most up-to-date version because it's already going through that change. So that's giving visibility into even that type of information. And then, like I said, depending on what you're working with, you can take different actions on it. So here you can see a lot of different actions for just this file alone, checking in the object, moving it to a workspace, copying the file. Like I said, whenever you're going into the details for any object, even here down to a document, it's going to look pretty much the same, high level information into that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how we control who has access to what data. It's all managed within this team here. So we're in a team for a product. Here you can see all the different roles that you can define. There's a lot of out-of-the-box roles within Windchill. You can even create your own naming conventions if you have your own. And let's say you want to add a new user to a new role. Very straightforward. You don't really need IT administration to do things like this anymore. So if someone already exists in this system, for example, you can search for their name. They're going to auto-populate here, and then you can quickly assign them a new role. Like I said, there's out-of-the-box roles. These are those. And then if you have your own naming conventions, you can create those very easily. And then, of course, once you apply that change, they would be automatically assigned to that role. And then that user that you just added, they're going to have all of the access rights that that role has. So administration here, very straightforward. And then for any configurations, again, this is generally done at the IT admin level. Here you can see just an administrator could come in, make these changes. It's, again, very straightforward. Left-hand side, you have all your actions. Going across the top, those are all the user groups. So if, for example, if this admin needed to come in and say, oh, our designer should never be able to modify our team or should modify a team, you come in, make that quick change, and then it's going to be applied to every single user within that group. Okay, so now moving into the structure. This is the actual bill of material within the product. So normally you would have your high-level assemblies and then your parts, of course. That's what we're viewing here, but it's a little bit more, and I'm going to get into that in a moment. First thing to notice here is you have visualization. So no need to open up your CAD tool. You have your bill of material. You can interact with these, select within your BOM on the left. You can also cross-highlight by selecting in the right-hand side. It's going to actually show you the part that you're selecting. So the visualization tools are really powerful within here. You can also do some light interrogations like zooming in, zooming out, rotating the object, pretty much like what we saw within the thumbnail navigator. And then you also might have you're going to have different users coming into this structure that have different roles within the organization. And they might need different metadata coming from your BOM. So you can define different views and how different users view that data. So if, for example, if a user came in and AML or AVLs were important for them, they can click that view, and then that metadata is going to automatically load within the bill of material on the left-hand side. And what we're seeing here within the BOM on the left, that's a collapsed version of it. You can expand this out by all the different levels that you're going to have within the BOM. You can see you can do a little bit granular, different 1 to 5 different levels, and then also all levels that you can define. So we can expand that out for as much as you would need to, of course. And then let's say that you open up your structure and you're like, all right, I know what part I need. I just need to see where it's at within the product or within the bill of material. So you can use the searching as well within here. So for example, isolator within this product, search for it. It's going to give you any instance of an isolator, and then you have that cross highlighting and selecting within the BOM as reference. Okay, so I've talked about relating information to one another. This is a really big and important part of Windchill. So you have your normal BOM. Generally, it's just your assembly files and then part files, things like that, your normal structure. Within Windchill, we want to relate information to one another, like I talked about within the thumbnail navigator. The way we do that, it's all done with a WT part. The WT part, they're the little gear icons on the far left-hand side that I've been showing this whole time. All of those it stands for Windchill technology, by the way, but all that means it's a bucket of information. So you can see at the very top level of our isolator here, we have an assembly file. But what's related to that assembly file? So if I make a change to this assembly file, what might be affected? Oh, well, we can see there's a parts manual, load calculations. That's giving you traceability. There's a lot of data that you can relate to one another, but this is giving you that first glance traceability right within the bill of material. Also included in that, of course, you have your version and history all automatically being tracked for you. So as people are coming in and making changes to these files, you're pushing these through workflows. All of that's being incorporated within that BOM. And then to this, so once you do structure your bill of material, reporting can be very valuable. So let's say you have to just get the report out or have a report for a review. Because it's automatically being tracked as you're making those changes, it's this simple to generate a report. You have your BOM, generate your report. There's different types of reports that you can have. You can also do like an export, such as like CSV. You can see PDF, Excel files, importable spreadsheets. What this means is the importable spreadsheet means that let's say that you need to take this data out, make some quick changes to it, bring it back into Windchill. That's a more digestible type of file for Windchill. So you have a lot of different options for managing your bill of material, generating reports, even down to the Excel file level. Okay, so now here, we're reviewing the visualization. I selected on the uses tab. This is just showing the same breakdown we saw earlier on the left-hand side. The reason to show this, you can see all the different types of metadata that can be brought in, but also, let's say you want to add a new part, something new to this bill of material. So we'll do something that already exists in our system, a sticker. So we need to add a sticker to the BOM. We can search for it. It's going to generate anything that exists in the system for that. You can see you can select it. A couple of things are going to happen here. So let's say a person comes in and makes a change to your BOM. They're going to get all the version history for that part, of course. So we're reusing this part now. But what also happened is this WT part that we're working on got checked out. So you can see in this structure here, this little icon, that's letting you know that this part is checked out. We can see who it's checked out to. And then of course, they're going to check that part back in. If there's a review process that you have set up, it's going to go through the correct review, make sure everybody that needs to have that review checked off, it's all automatically driven. There's routing options. So if they can, once they go through that review, they can approve or reject and then send that off down the workflow. So again, helps everyone be able to have one single source of truth, make the changes they need to, and incorporate everybody within those processes. Now, something I haven't talked about is the comparison tools and reporting options within Windchill. Well, I talked about the reporting, but here's the comparisons. So let's say you're working within your product, you're going through and making your changes, but now you need to understand what changes have occurred over a certain period of time. There's a couple different ways that we can go about this. One way is being with the baseline comparison. So what you can do is you can define a baseline. Let's say today on March 13th, we can create a baseline of our entire bill of material. And then 6 months down the line, we want to understand the changes that happen. So what we can do is create a baseline in 6 months, run the comparison, and then it's going to give us a full breakdown of what has changed within our product. You can also do this on history. So if you have two different versions of your file, version 1 and 5, let's say, for example, you can compare those versions as well. Whenever we have that comparison, you can see a couple different ways to know what's actually changed. Here in the center, this is going to be, you can see view attribute differences. If we expand this out, we can see some changes here as well. Also, I know it's a little hard to see, but the titles or the names of the files are actually, the font has changed blue. So there's different representations to let you know what has actually changed. And then you can see here on the bottom on the right, these are new parts. It's letting us know that there's nothing equivalent from the previous version that exists to match to this. So it's even showing the new parts within this comparison. So really powerful features within the comparison tool. Okay. Talked a lot about the bill of material. I want to lean a little bit more on collaboration here. So let's say that you have a person coming into the system and they wanted to get measurements for a part, a CAD part that you have in here, or an assembly, even a document. What they can do is open up the details page. When they open this, all they have to do is select on that component, and then it's going to launch a tool called Creo View. This tool, it's pretty much a markup a markup tool to allow you to visualize your 3D geometries and parts and assemblies, apply markups to them, get dimensions, do sectioning views, things like this. It's a very powerful tool. And then be able to send this back to Windchill to collaborate with others. So an example I always like to use is, let's say we have someone out on the shop floor. They normally wouldn't have access to this type of data. So what they could do is they can open up this part, launch it in Creo View. They can do, like I said, sectioning on this, on the part, do a quarter cut, really understand what's going on within this component. And then they can also apply markups. So that shop floor worker, they could come in and say, hey, we're having an issue with this part, it's overheating, or we need to change a dimension. They can leave a note, we can say update the length on this component. This can get all pushed down through a change process, of course. Like I said, get actual dimensions from the parts. And all the while they're doing this, you never have to worry about them actually making a change to that main CAD part. This is a lightweight representation of that. So it has no effect on that. So then once they've created those markups, got the dimensions, really understood the product, they can save this into Windchill. They can send it to another user. They can enforce this within a change process. Like if they created a problem report, this can all be included in that. And then everybody's working off the same information, even down to the production floor, all the way up to through managers or other users that may generally not have that information. Okay, last thing I want to cover here is just going through these top level tabs that we haven't really touched on. So here we're just in a WT part, we're in a part, could be a document, it doesn't matter. Whenever you're viewing related objects, this is showing you that traceability. Like I said, we can understand, okay, if we make a change to this document, these are the other objects that may be affected by that change. And understand relationships between other parts or files that you're managing. So we could see the assembly file, load calculations, analysis that you may have in here, parts list, anything that may be related to that object. Also changes. There's a full change management process that can be defined and is defined in Windchill. Whenever an object's going through a change, you come here and you can see everything that's going on with it, all the metadata, of course. Like I talked about, when any user checks out a part or a file, checks it back into the system, you get full traceability, automatic version numbering for those. So you can see all the different versions this part has gone through. And also even down to this level, you can run different types of comparisons. So this is more of an attribute comparison. You can see how easy it was compared to two different versions of a part right within our history. And then lastly here, we have where used. Really beneficial tool. This is really important. So what this means is, I always like to use a washer example because it's a very small component. So let's say you have a washer and you need to understand, okay, I know I'm using this washer on 4 different products we have. What are those products? How do I actually know what products they're being used on? You might not even know how many products. So you could come here to the where used and you have that full traceability through all the different products. So if there was 4 products it was used on, you would see it here. If you were working at the product, the high level product level, you could break your way down to a part and then come to the where used and see the different relationships that part has. And again, all the while you're doing this, you have the full version history, all the metadata being brought in, and also visualizations and markups for this part that we were viewing. So like I said earlier on, whenever that production floor worker or manager comes in, makes an annotation, all those visualizations can be tied directly to the part directly in Windchill. Okay, so that's all I had to cover for the Windchill overview. I hope it was helpful, and I'll pass it back over to Rob.
Thanks, Shane. It's really good stuff, really good overview. Windchill does a lot, so it does a lot. So we wanted to just give you a kind of a taste, a little snapshot of what it can do. But if you want to see something more specific regarding Windchill, we're more than happy to do a custom demo for you. All you have to do is just contact us at info@3hti.com, or you can respond to the email invite that I sent, and that'll come obviously directly to me. But one of the things I want to point out about Windchill is that you can start out using Windchill for product data management if that's all you need at this point, and then evolve, because there's a lot of systems like SolidWorks users have. Dassault has purchased third-party PDM systems to be able to work for their SolidWorks customers, and they've never really worked as advertised. So that's led quite a few people kind of reluctant to use another PDM system, or even a PLM system for that matter. But Windchill is scalable, starting from PDM and moving into PLM. And we have customers that are using Windchill for PLM, and now they're really getting focused, especially the ones that are in regulated industries like automotive or med device, or even working with the federal government or military, where they're using Windchill more for compliance and requirements management. So we're making those tweaks. So basically it gets them off of using Excel and email systems that are not secure, into using something really secure about Windchill. And that's something else that's really important to note, is that your intellectual property is secure with Windchill. It's an absolutely secure system, and you determine who sees that data, that information, and who does not. So you control who can see it and who cannot. So once again, if you want to know more about our Windchill services or what Windchill can do for you, just email us at info@3hti.com. Thanks for being on, everybody, and have a great day.